up, guys? This is Ian here, coach of your Ladner Lanturn, as well as the replacement coach for the Baltimore Mimikyu, so I guess I will go by that moniker as well. We are here with Week 9 of the Crimson City Battle League, taking on Tiff and the Calgary Flareons this week. Technically, this is a week behind. Again, I mentioned this in the Team Builder, but if you haven't seen Team Builder, go watch that. We're a week behind because I'm taking over, and the Week 9 match had not been done yet. For this, Week 10 is also going to happen this weekend, where we take on Jimmy and the Los Angeles Lake Trio. So let's run through Tiff's team real quick here. There's Tapu Bulu, Necrozma, Rotom Heat, Dragalge, Dust Noir, Alolan Golem, Mega Swampert, Alolan Ninetales, Fortress, Heatran, Pangoro. Really happy not to see the Heatran, although I did over prep for that. I'm not really happy to see the... What am I not happy to see? Not happy to see the Alolan Ninetales. I'm shocked that I'm seeing the Dust Noir. That's pretty much it. Dust Noir with Shadow Sneak is a possibility. Alolan Ninetales with Ice Shard is a serious possibility. Those are both forms of priority. For hazard setting, the only hazard setter that Tiff brought is Necrozma with Stealth Rocks. No, Mega Swampert with Stealth Rocks too. Yeah, both of those could have Stealth Rocks. 4 times weaknesses. Tiff brought Bulu, which with a 4 times weakness to Poison, Swampert with a 4 times weakness to Grass, and that is it, which is a good thing why we are Grassium Z Moltres, which I will talk about right now. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention this. There's no hazard removing options that Tiff brought, so I can just hazard stack freely. Let's run through our team if you haven't seen our team builder really quickly here. We are a physically offensive Weavile with Life Orb, with a little bit of tech in Brick Break to break through Aurora Veil potentially. We are a physically defensive Toxic Spike setting Nidoqueen. We are a pretty standard Mega Sceptile running HP Fire to deal with the Fortress, which is obviously not necessary now, so we have a wasted move slot. We are a specially offensive Moltres with Grassium Z and Burn Up with a little bit of tech. We are a specially defensive regular Swampert with Stealth Rocks. And we are a specially offensive Choice Scarfed Latios. So coming into this, I really was not sure what Tiff was going to lead. I was like, maybe she'll lead Mega Swampert, so I went with my own Swampert, because I'm like, alright, I'm fine with trading rocks early game, not even remembering that I have a Moltres on my team, so I am going to lead my own Swampert, and we will see that Tiff also leads Swampert as well. Calvin Armstrong, that is kind of the name. That's hilarious. Obviously Mega Swampert gets faster than regular Swampert, so those Stealth Rocks go up first. I'm going to double out into my Latios now, predicting an Earthquake, which is the hardest thing you can hit my Swampert with. Now I'm sort of stuck on what I want to do, because Tiff brought both of the Fairy types, Alolan Ninetale and Tapu Bulu, so I can't just drop a Draco freely. I am running Ice Beam if I want to predict the Bulu coming in, but I think it's more likely that a Lolatails comes in because it actually threatens my Latios out with like a Blizzard. So I'm instead going to click Defog because I want to get my Moltres in, and I don't want it to die to Stealth Rocks, essentially. So that's what I'm going to do, and Tiff is going to double out into the Alolan Ninetales, take the Rocks damage and set the Hail. So we're going to get the Defog off here and get rid of both Rocks, so essentially the first turn was absolutely null. Yeah, first 2 turns actually essentially null, and this is basically a new lead. I'm going to go into my Moltres here because it's going to take the hits the best, and that is a Crit Blizzard that's doing 81. I did calc this. I didn't wait to see the leftovers, realistically, but there's the leftovers. I can see it's specially offensive, but it's not choice specs, obviously, as now we've seen the leftovers. I was calculating choice specs, specially offensive, and the most I would have taken was 81, but because it was a crit, I think it's like a 50 max roll or something like that, 55? I can't remember what the roll is anymore, but it was a pretty significant roll. That was like the lowest, the absolute lowest possible roll that the crit could have gotten, though, so I'm happy about that, because potentially my Moltres could have just died to that crit right there, which would have been really sad, because Moltres does a lot to this team right now. So now, I'm not sure if Tiff is predicting me to be like Choice Scarf or something, but I'm freaking out because I'm like, oh crap, I don't outspeed this Alolan Ninetales with my Moltres now, so I'm going to double out into my Swampert, I think. I have no idea what I'm going out into. I'm going out into something, and Tiff's going to go into Rotom. I think it's Swampert. Yep, I go out into Swampert here to take whatever's coming next, and Tiff goes out into Rotom. Swampert obviously deals with this Rotom really well, especially because I'm especially defensive. This is actually my defensive check to Rotom, so this is kind of the perfect scenario here. I didn't forge this for myself, but it's the perfect scenario here for my Swampert to do well. I'm just going to get my rocks up again, Hazard Stack, as Tiff goes out into Bulu, which is obviously the thing that threatens out my Swampert the most. My defensive check to Bulu is Nidoqueen, so I'm going right into Nidoqueen. I didn't even have to think about this play. I went straight into Nidoqueen. We're running the Rocky Helmet defensive, so this thing's going to take a lot of damage. And we see Grass Knot. That's really odd. I was not expecting to see Special Bulu, but it's a good thing with Rocky Helmet, I guess, because Grass Knot's technically a contact move. Either way, even though we're physically defensive, we still tank the special hits that Bulu can go for, because it really doesn't get good coverage. It really does not get good coverage. So I'm going to click my Toxic Spikes here because I threatened out the Bulu with a Poison move, and in comes Mega Swampert, which can take me out with like a Waterfall or an Earthquake or something. I'm going to predict it to go for Earthquake again, and so I'm going to go into my Moltres here, which I know can deal with this thing. Tiff may have seen this as me just sacking off the Moltres as the Stealth Rocks come up again. And we go for our Grassium Z Bloom Doom, which is going to destroy that thing because it's 4 times weak. Moltres picking up our first kill of the Crimson City Battle League, which is kind of neat. I love Moltres, and Moltres has kind of a neat history with Chase in particular. Not gonna go into P4G games, but that's the thing. So now Dusknoir comes out. So I was kind of confused by this, and I was ready for it to just go for Shadow Sneak on me. So I just clicked Burn Up, because that's going to do the most damage that I could possibly do. Does pretty much nothing. And in comes the Psychic. So I'm like, alright, there's another specially offensive mon on the team, and it's specially offensive Dusknoir. Toxic Spike really racking up the poison damage here. I'm really happy that I brought that, actually. My check to the Dusknoir is my Mega Sceptile, because I know I'm going to outspeed this, and now that I see Special, I'm not really scared of a Shadow Sneak. So I'm just going to click the Giga Drain to get the health back that I lost from taking Stealth Rock damage. And in comes, I believe, the Alolan Ninetales to threaten out my Sceptile. I was calcing for a long time with Aurora Veil up, so I was like, oh no, my Leaf Storm only does 40, and then I took Aurora Veil off, and I'm like, oh, this thing dies. So I'm going to click Leaf Storm here, hopefully not miss, which I don't, and pick off the Alolan Ninetales, which is really nice. At this point, I believe Rotom Heat or Necrozma, one of those two. Bulu. Oh, okay, it's the third one that I completely forgot about. Bulu's going to come out here, and I guess it's got some sort of fairy coverage. So I'm going to go into my Nidoqueen to tank that. And it is going to be the Dazzling Gleam. Now, there is no reason for me not to click Sludge Wave, because nothing is resisting Sludge Wave. So I'm just going to click the Sludge Wave. It is Sheer Force boosted, so it's like base 123 or something. And it's going to do a ton of damage. It does... we do see the Necrozma come out here now, and it does get a crit. That's kind of an unfortunate crit. I'm not sure how much it mattered, considering we were in Hail. The Hail damage plus the poison damage is going to rack up. And that Necrozma is now really low, so I get a free switch into my Weavile here. Tiff's actually just going to go for the Moonlight, but in Hail, that's only going to heal 25%. So this thing can die to a knockoff. I actually calced right here, and I calced Ice Shard to a max defense, max HP, Bold Necrozma. Does 16% max, so I was pretty sad about that. But knockoff kills always, so I'm just going to go for the knockoff. And we do pick up the kill. We do see the Rocky Helmet, so that was clearly a very physically defensive Necrozma, probably to take on the Weavile a little bit better. I'm not sure what other physical threats I have, to be honest, because I don't know this team very well. Maybe the Alolan Muck. Now comes Rotom Heat. This thing does not die to a knockoff yet because it's only taken one turn of rocks, so I go into Swampert, which deals with this thing really well. I have no idea what hidden power that is. I'm expecting like hidden power fire, maybe? Let's just evaluate that real quick. Hidden power fire, potentially. What else would resist? It must have been hidden power fire just to deal with the Weavile. I guess hidden power fighting probably does better against Weavile realistically, but I don't really have a fire weak team. Looking at it, Delmise, I guess. Okay, it could have been hidden power fire for Delmise as well. Yeah, so I go into Swampert, which is my defensive check to this thing. Obviously, Bulu's going to come out now, but I'm just going to go for the Scald, get a little chip damage off on the Bulu. I probably should have predicted it and just gone Nidoqueen. But I was really trying to just play a little bit safe now, since it's 5-2. Scald comes off, get a little chip damage, and now I'm going to go into the Nidoqueen, because again, that's my defensive check to this Bulu. And Tiff is just going to click the Grassium Z, herself. So my Nidoqueen is going to go down to this Grass Z since it's a neutral hit, and that does a ton of damage. I believe because it was special, we didn't take that very well either. I'm fairly certain it was Grass, not Bloom Doom. I have no idea. Maybe Tiff will correct me, but that's the idea. Ice Shard picks off this, so I click that, and Rotom Heat comes out. After the Ice Shard damage, Knockoff is killing this thing 100% of the time, so I'm just going to click Knockoff, and Weavile is going to clean up the Rotom Heat. And then we're going to click Ice Shard and pick off the Tapu Bulu, just in case we were going to miss like an Icicle Crash. I didn't want to risk that, and Ice Shard did enough at this point, especially after taking Rocks again. Ice Shard cleaning this thing up, no problem. So Weavile picking up some clean kills. We move our record to 2-7 with a -18 differential, picking up the 4-0 win, which is kind of good. I have no idea where this league is going to go in the future. Obviously, I'm picking up a team like deep into the season, very deep into the season. I have no idea how this is going to go for us. I'm hoping to just pick up as many wins as possible, but again, what I'm looking for most out of this is experience with using some of these Mons. I've never used Weavile in a league. I've never used regular Latios in a league. I've never used Nidoqueen in a league. Actually, I've never used any of these except for Delmise, which I dropped in the league that I used it in. So this would be a really neat team. Again, I love the speed tiering. I love how the speed tiers are laid out. I love Weavile's offensive capabilities. I'm actually a huge fan of regular Swampert for defensive purposes. I think because it's only weak to grass, and that's actually the only weakness it has, it can perform fairly well, and it makes people over prep for the grass weakness, which is kind of neat. I'm a huge fan of Moltres. I think Moltres can do really well. Not necessarily in this league as much, because only offensive Z moves are allowed. So like Z Sunny Day, Moltres is really good because it boosts the speed, and all of a sudden you're faster than a lot of the threats on your opponent's team. But we can't use that, so we had to run the offensive. It's good against slower teams like Tiff's. Pardon me. Because the only thing that outsped Moltres on Tiff's team was Alolan Ninetales. So it could pick off a lot of things there. Yeah, I like Raichu in general. Oh, sorry, I used Raichu in the PCL too, but Nidoqueen is a big thing that I really love the capabilities of. I think Nidoqueen can be run in so many different ways, and it's just such a versatile mon. Like you saw the defensive work that it put in against Tapu Bulu, even though Tapu Bulu wasn't the set I was predicting, and the amount of work the Toxic Spike, that one Toxic Spike actually put in this game was kind of big. So anyways, that's it for me, and I guess I will see you guys for Week 10. We take on Jimmy and the Los Angeles Lake Trio. That battle should be happening on Sunday. I've already filmed the team builder for it. We've already done the prep, so that should be going up on Sunday. And yeah, I see you guys for the team builder.